Hey, what's going on everybody and welcome back. As you may know if you are watching this video, not too long ago I released my very first standalone weapon mod for Fallout 4, that being the Skewer. Now when that came out I wanted to have some footage that accompanied it and I was not able to do so because I was missing a piece of the component that was just not available, and that was its source. If you didn't know already, the Skewer was actually inspired by a weapon from Halo Infinite by the same name, the Skewer. Inside Halo Infinite, there is a large, heavy weapon called the Skewer, which launches a gigantic piece of metal at your enemies at the cost of a very lengthy reload, and it only has the ability to shoot one shot before said reload, and that is where I got the inspiration for the Skewer in Fallout 4, given the same name, given its origin. Now, obviously these things look nothing alike, and that was kind of by design. I really wanted them to function the same. I wanted a weapon that functioned like the Skewer from Halo Infinite, but I wanted it to feel like it fit in Fallout. Now, the brute weapons from the Halo series do have a pretty nice apocalyptic feel to them, like they're handmade out of nearby parts, but it just didn't sell itself, especially not the Skewer's design in my opinion. And I think we ended up with something that fits in Fallout pretty well in my mod. And that's where we get to today's video. I am ready to move on to my next standalone weapon. Now, as you may know, I am currently working on the Assault Rifle Remesh. That thing is getting pretty close to being finished. It should hopefully be coming out within the next coming weeks. But I want to start working on my next standalone weapon, something that is going to be not a replacer, but an actual fully functional weapon, just like the Skewer that you can go find out in the world. And so that's kind of where you guys come in. Today we are going to be holding a little bit of a vote with a separate post that I will have linked down in the description and the pinned comment, where you can go and vote on my next mod. But to give you some background as to what the potential options are, that's what this video is for. Now, something that I wanted to do that I think was really cool and original and unique is the idea of taking something from Halo and completely converting it into a Fallout weapon. The reason I'm using Halo weapons is because Halo Infinite has some truly cool, unique weapon designs. So, picture what I did with the Skewer, taking the functionality of the weapon and then converting it into something completely different that aesthetically fits Fallout's universe. That's what we're going to be doing. So with that, I'm going to present you with some options from Halo that I could convert into a Fallout mod. So I want you guys to vote on which one you think is the most interesting or looks the most fun, or most of all, just one that you want to see and more importantly want to play with in your own load order. So let's go ahead and get down to the options. My first pick is the Mangler. The Mangler is a new, crazy, intuitive design that is based on the old Halo 3 Mauler and Spiker, basically combined into a crazy love child. This thing is an 8-shot revolver type weapon that look like shotgun shells at the back but launch spikes out the front, similar to the railway rifle from Fallout 4. Now I know this can seem a bit similar to the Skewer in functionality in that it is hurling metal spikes at people. It'll function a little bit differently. The Skewer in my mod is very, very high damage at the risk of a lengthy reload, whereas this will be toned down a good bit, functioning a little bit more like a heavy revolver with some more rare ammo type being the railway spikes. Now, given my lack of animating knowledge, this will probably be using vanilla animations, so something like the pipe revolver pistol reanimation, or possibly one of the revolver animations out there on the Nexus if it's available for use. And it will also have its own custom ammo. Well, sort of. It would be shooting railway spikes, but in the cylinder itself it would have a shotgun shell with a railway spike crammed into it, which is how it's being fired, at least in my head canon. This would definitely be taking on a very handmade feel, much like the Skewer, something that a raider crafted to just launch metal at his enemies with a very cheap production cost. When we look at the pipe weapons from Fallout 4, some of them are a bit unrealistic in terms of how somebody could get that thing actually functioning, but a revolver that shoots things out of repurposed shotgun shells, that's a little bit more believable, and something that I think the Mangler could do pretty well when recreated in Fallout's design. This is definitely one of the first ones that I thought of and something I'm super excited to do. That being said, it is pretty close to the theme and style of the Skewer, so I could understand if people wanted to see something a bit different. Luckily, there are more options. The next weapon I look at on the Halo Infinite roster that I think could use a pretty nice spot in Fallout 4's leveled list is the Disruptor Pistol. Now, this is something completely new to Halo. This is a shock-based weapon. It's actually a pistol that when you shoot an enemy will overcharge their shields and keep a draining effect on them, and also has the ability to EMP vehicles after enough rounds are put into it. pretty interesting and has a very unique reload, one that I think could actually work pretty well with the plasma pistol reload from Fallout 4. It would have to be tweaked a little bit obviously, but something similar to this and using the shock capabilities from the rifle added in the Automatron DLC I think could work pretty well. Now the question is what route we take. We could do a handmade sort of shock pistol, something that settlers and wastelanders would have, or we could go the techie route and have it be sort of an institute-based pistol. If this is something that does get voted upon and people choose the Disruptor as the next weapon mod, we may need to do a second vote to determine if it's going to be a junky, handmade scrap theme or if it's going to be more of an institute theme to have something new for the institute people to be carrying, which isn't a bad thing. They do need something to beef up their level lists instead of just those big blocky lasers they have. Now, given that this would be using the plasma animations, it does have the access to be used as both a pistol and rifle, which is always fun for the sake of customization. That being said, if you want a shock rifle, I feel like the Lair is already a pretty good option, so maybe a standalone pistol exclusive shock weapon would be pretty interesting. This may even need its own custom ammo type, or we'll just cram in fusion cells. That's probably some more finer details that we'd worry about if this actually gets voted on, but still something to be thought about. I've always wanted to do my own energy weapon, and I think this one would be pretty unique and interesting, and something we don't really have a lot of on the Nexus right now is shock-based weaponry, so I think that could be a cool one. Now, the last option I'm looking at is a pretty interesting one, and that is the newly added Pulse Carbine. Definitely a weird hybrid weapon added to Halo Infinite, and I'm still not sure about its place in the sandbox, though the way it functions is that it is a plasma-based weapon similar to the classic plasma rifle, except that it shoots in pulses and it has a homing effect, similar to that of an overcharged plasma pistol. So when you fire it at an enemy, all of these shots will lock onto target and zoom towards them. Now, I wouldn't want to take every single bit of the functionality. I think the pulse shooting of it is a bit lame, if I'm being honest, but I do like the idea of locking plasma, some sort of a smart gun, and I think that that functionality could make for a pretty interesting Fallout weapon. Now, this is something that would need an absolute facelift and its own reload animation, because the ones used in Halo are just not going to work. The style won't fit in Fallout, and the venting is not something we have access to in terms of vanilla animations, unless I was able to get a hold of somebody who could do that for me, because I know that I cannot. Now, all that aside, taking this concept and applying it to the Fallout universe as we know it, thinking of plasma in a Fallout mentality with the plasma rifle and plasma pistol that we are used to, firing out the green projectiles, and converting that into some sort of a smart gun with some kind of a targeting computer on it that is able to direct the plasma towards enemies would be pretty interesting. And having this rather than an upgradable feature, but actually as an integral feature, could set this weapon apart and make it very unique. So your weapon will always be locking onto enemies at the cost of, say, damage and possibly ammo usage. This would definitely be the weapon that looks the least like its source material, but it will have that locking plasma functionality, which I think would be pretty interesting. Definitely more of a late game weapon, whereas the Mangler could show up a little bit sooner, and the Disruptor is probably sort of a mid-tier weapon. So those are the three options that I have come up with, and let me know which one you think we should be working on. I would really like your guys' input. It's really up to you guys which ones you want to download, so knowing the mod that's coming out ahead of time is a pretty nice thing, and you get to be a part of the mod creation process. So the way that we're going to vote on this: 1, you can give me some input down in the comments below, though that is not where I will be looking for the votes. The actual voting will take place on a YouTube community post that I will have linked down in the description, as well as a pinned comment. Head over there and you will vote as follows. There will be 3 options. 1 is for the Mangler, 2 is for the Disruptor, and 3 is for the Pulse Carbine. Just look back to this video to remember which name corresponds to each option. So yeah, you guys go to that post, let me know which one you want to see, and that's the one that we will make. I'm really interested to see which one you guys are actually looking forward to. I may eventually move on to do all of them. I just want to know which one you'd like to see first. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for your input, and thank you guys so much for all of your support on the channel lately. We are almost at 20,000 subscribers, and you bet that I will be having a special coming very soon with a Q&A from a post that you guys were asking questions on not too long ago. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And I'm really looking forward to see your answers as to which mod I should work on next. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace! And really quick, I'd like to make a shout out to all of our patrons. Your donations are greatly appreciated and really help to support the channel and videos just like this one. So again, thank you.